Since the 2nd of December 2024, the entire altcoin market has dropped over 43%, and Bitcoin has also sold off over 30%. So in this video, we're going to compare the most recent sell-off with previous market cycles to show you where Bitcoin is in this macro market cycle, talking about the stock to flow model, and also some massive news. If you hold Ondo, we're going to talk about the Ondo to the US dollar price chart, Stellar's XLM, Ripple's XRP, and what has taken place after the White House summit that you need to know, because these altcoins will make millionaires this bull run cycle, but this happens first. We have to share with you some massive regulatory developments, what's happening with ETFs in the United States, expectations for XRP over the next few weeks and next few months. We're also talking about Ethereum compared to Bitcoin and the crypto total market cap excluding the top 10. So you can have a better understanding based on the facts and the data that's showing on the charts for the most likely scenario to happen next. So if you guys are feeling bullish still with this recent market pullback, and if you're feeling blessed, you know what to do. Comment 777. And if you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, confirm it by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So we have a lot to dive into in this video. We're going to be talking about fundamental news, also the charts as well too, because with this recent pullback for the entire altcoin market, we're sitting at about $1 trillion in terms of market cap. So everyone wants to know that I talked about in my last video that we're going to dive more into in this one is this pullback over, or are we going to see further sell-offs to the downside and more pain ahead? Well, just recently, Arthur Hayes predicted Bitcoin could drop to $70,000, which is a 36% correction from $110,000 all-time high. And he's saying this is very normal for a bull market. Then we need stonks, the SPX and the NDX, to enter free fall. Then we need TradeFi Muppets to go under. Then we get Fed, PCOB, ECB, and BOJ all easing and printing money to make their country great again. Then you load up the truck. Traders will try to buy the dip. If you are more risk adverse, wait for the central banks to ease, then deploy more capital. You might not catch the bottom, but you also won't have to mentally suffer through a long period of sideways and potential unrealized losses. So as you guys already know, Arthur Hayes is the CEO of BitMEX, the exchange, and he was reported to be the youngest African-American crypto billionaire in history. Now, will he be right about Bitcoin going to 70K? We'll see, but I think it's important that you know this. If we bring up the Bitcoin price chart on the right-hand side of the screen and roughly how far we are into this bull market cycle over 840 days, if we were to look back to the bear market bottom back in 2015, 840 days into that bull run cycle, what happened along the way were these massive pullbacks in the market. For example, just to give you guys who are new this bull run cycle to crypto and you're wondering what's going on, why is your portfolio down so much if you bought Bitcoin above $100,000 or any altcoins? Well, here's some perspective for you on what happened this bull run cycle. This is when I got involved in crypto, was the 2016-2017 bull run. And after that bear market bottom was in, all the way down here, when Bitcoin was around $100 and finding its low roughly around $200, the first major sell-off was like 37% out of that bear market low. And once we broke out from $300, we rallied all the way up to 500. We pulled back another 40%. We rallied back up again, then pulled back 25%. We broke that range to $800, then pulled back 38%. Then once we broke $800, we rallied all the way up to 1,000, nearly 200, then pulled back another 36%, and so on and so forth. And you guys can see every single rally to a new range was followed by a steep pullback of 30 to 40%. This pullback right here by March of 2017 was 35%. We break all the way upwards of $3,000, and we pull back 41%. Break out again to new range, $5,000. Pull all the way back to back test the previous high as support, another 40% pullback. We do it time and time again. Then we break upwards of $8,000, pull back another 30%. Then we break out to the all-time high. And once the bull market was over, then we pull back over 80% all the way to a bear market bottom. So the real question is that people want to know is, have we reached the top for this bull run cycle? And are we just going to go into a bear market from here on out? Or are we just going through one of these correction periods that you've seen multiple times in the past for 30 to 40% corrections? Because looking at the chart right now, on the right-hand side of the screen, it's looking very similar to 2016-2017's bull run. For example, you can see when the bear market bottom was in all the way back here in November of 2022, we broke out upwards of $25,000, pull back 23%, breakout to $30,000, pull back 20%. Then we consolidate within this range for a while, see another 20% pullback, breakout again upwards of 50K, pull back 21%. So with these pullbacks, they're actually less than what we saw in 2016. Because 2016 had a lot of 30 to 40% pullbacks. The pullback between March to August of 2024 was only 32%. It was just a longer consolidation period before the next breakout to a new range. That's why people are feeling more fear. It's not necessarily the percentage of the pullback, because this pullback right now for Bitcoin is only about 30%. So for us to go to $70,000 for Bitcoin and drop another 13,000, it wouldn't be that abnormal, because like I just showed you, we've seen that happen in the past. The frustrating part about this market cycle is how much longer these pullbacks are taking, because back in 2016, some of the longer sell-offs and consolidations lasted, this one about 168 days. This one right here was about 188 days. And this market cycle, the most recent one, was 241 days. And currently, we're about 86 days into this consolidation period. So this is going to take a little time to play out, and I want you to pay close attention to this video, because I'm going to share with you some important data for what the charts are showing and key indicators are showing for where we are in this macro market cycle. Because if we were to just zoom out on the weekly chart for Bitcoin here and take the 2015 bottom to the 2017 high, that market cycle, and put it up to the bear market low to where we're at right now, we're right along schedule in this market cycle, even with this most recent pullback right here, mirroring what happened back in February of 2017. It's also lining up with the Bitcoin meter right here for this little pink phase in the market cycle before we go to light green for the next major move in the market. And as you guys saw me talk about in my previous video yesterday, if you haven't seen that, I uploaded about 21 hours ago, I brought up all of these key indicators here, showing you guys everything that you need to know about past market cycles and when we have been overvalued or oversold based on where we're currently at right now. So just based on the Bitcoin meter right here, it's showing that we're roughly in the market cycle where we were right here where I'm circling on the chart the last few cycles. So this pullback, not out of the ordinary, completely normal. It's just annoying. That's the word that I would give it. Because this type of stuff seems to happen on the price charts when the most bullish news is taking place from a fundamental perspective. For example, it seems contradictory that all these bills are pushing forward to adopt, Bitcoin in America, with Donald Trump bullish on Bitcoin, a new SEC chair. The list goes on and on and on, but yet price action is performing poorly. For example, listen to this.
I'm so pleased to announce that today I will be reintroducing the Bitcoin Act. And I'll be joined here shortly by Senator Justice of West Virginia, who is one of the co-sponsors. And we have several other additional co-sponsors. And a lot of it is a result of the excitement that's been building.
So this is why we pay attention to charts, not what everyone's saying, but what the charts are actually showing. Because if we look at the Bitcoin stock to flow model that shows the days until the next halving, if we zoom into where we are right now, we are well below the stock to flow line, where it shows $280,000. As we're transitioning from orange to yellow in terms of the days until the next halving. And if we look at the last market cycle, when we were transitioning from orange to yellow, we were well above the stock to flow line, sitting at like $40,000 to $50,000, when the model line was at $27,000. Whereas if we look at the 2016 to 2017 run, we were below the stock to flow line, all the way down here at like $900 to $1,000, when the model price was showing $1,800. So this bull run cycle arguably could be more comparable to 2016, 2017. And I've shown this so many times in previous videos where we didn't reach the market cycle peak until we achieved light green, which was roughly 800 days until the next halving. Even the last bull run cycle, we reached the peak at light green as well too. So currently right now, we're not only well below the stock to flow line by a good chunk, $280,000 versus 80K is a big difference, but we are not anywhere close to 800 days until the next halving. So that's arguably going to be coming in towards quarter 4 of this year by like October, November of 2025. And if you guys watched the video that I covered yesterday, every single indicator on the chart are all showing the same thing. So that's ultimate confluence just based on the charts. It's not opinion, it's just the facts. And we're going to talk about other data such as inflation in this video and in other videos, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. But amidst the shuffle at the White House and also the recent summit that Ondo put on, you might have missed an important chain expansion for their tokenized US treasuries. So Ondo just announced that they're bringing yield-bearing assets to the Stellar network, a leading payment ecosystem. And Stellar has made remarkable progress in bringing blockchain to the unbanked with over 425,000 stablecoin users and $32 billion in payment volume in 2024. The Stellar network has become the go-to hub for global payments, cross-border remittances, and payroll. And they just said by tapping into partnerships with the likes of MoneyGram, Lobster, and Decaf So, Stellar enables small businesses and unbanked communities to access global finance. So today, the $250 million market cap of stablecoins on Stellar powers payments, treasury management, and corporate payouts, but they can do even more, introducing yield-bearing real-world assets like tokenized treasuries into existing payment flows could unlock $10 million in annual yield, benefiting small businesses and local economies. So with Ondo's tokenized treasuries coming to these cash balances, Stellar can become the go-to hub for monetizing balance sheets, hedging inflation, and powering on-chain savings. Now, also, you guys remember in one of my previous videos, we talked about World Liberty Fi buying 470K Ondo tokens because Ondo became a new partner of Ripple to tokenize assets on the XRP ledger, where they brought OUSG to the XRP ledger. And at the Ondo Summit, this is what David Schwartz had to say.
But I think we're going to have to turn the corner to institutional adoption and towards retail adoption with use cases that actually have real world utility and aren't just completely speculative. And that's going to mean access to the real world financial system and assets in the real world. So real world asset tokenization is the big one.
And if we look at Ondo to the US dollar price chart, we can see that Ondo has had a steep pullback from $2.16, currently sitting at 83 cents. It's dropped over 60% over the past 87 days. So we saw something like this happen before, all the way back here from June of 2024 until September of 2024, where Ondo pulled back from $1.50 to about 50 cents over the course of 98 days. And so if we bring up the MACD on the daily, I'll share with you what I'm looking at on the charts to signal when the pain could potentially be over for the sell-off and when we start to make the next breakout. So during this last pullback from June of 2024 until September, when the bottom was finally in and we went through this consolidation range right here, below 88 cents to about 53 cents, where Ondo was just ranging, we saw this bearish channel beforehand. And so we're currently in a bearish channel right now where we just see lower highs and lower lows getting put in. We just recently had the lowest low in this current pullback. And so what I look at on the charts like this is confluence on the indicators compared to the past. So for example, when Ondo was all the way up here at $1.50 at this market high, look at where the relative strength index was at. It was at 74 in overbought conditions. Also, look at the MACD right here on the daily. We experienced a bearish cross well above the zero line where the MACD line crossed below the signal line in orange at the bottom of the screen. And so while we saw the price drop, we saw the MACD reset below zero, and we saw the RSI reset as well too. So this caused Ondo to drop to about 83 cents, bringing the RSI down to about 33, the MACD below zero. Then we experienced a bullish cross. And in my previous videos, I talk about how you never want to buy the first bullish cross that happens because it's usually a leading indicator before a bottom comes in. And usually what we see happens after the first bullish cross below zero is a rally, but most of the time it leads to a failed rally. As you can see, Ondo rallied up to $1.13, which was just simply a lower high than the previous high in this bearish channel right here. And so at the bottom of the screen, you can see what happened with the MACD. It rallied up, faked out a lot of investors because they thought a recovery was coming. And then we experienced a bearish cross well below zero for the MACD to drop even lower. And so when I get into what's happening right now, we saw some similarities on the chart as well too. For example, at the top of the screen right here for Ondo's all-time high of $2.12, look at where the MACD was. And also look at where the relative strength index. The relative strength index was at 73. Now, one thing that's interesting is the previous high at about $1.93, the relative strength index was at 86. So this was a bearish divergence. We saw a higher high on the price chart, and we saw a lower high on the relative strength index. That signaled that the bullish momentum was pretty much over, and we're going to start a bearish corrective period in this bearish channel right here. So the relative strength index drops all the way down here to about 38. Very similar to the RSI dropping down here to about 35 by July of 2024. Simultaneously, look at what happened with the MACD. We saw a bearish cross all the way up here, just like we saw a bearish cross all the way up here. Back in June of 2024, the MACD along with the signal line falls well below zero to reset. We experienced a bullish cross on the 18th of January, shortly after the price dropped down to about $1.06. Very similar to what we went through all the way back here that I just showed you with Ondo at about 83 cents. And if I were to just clear the chart so you can see what we're looking at on the MACD right here, while still keeping up these bearish channels for confluence so you guys can see what happened in between these bearish crosses right here at the peak of that bull market rally for the price chart and the MACD, alongside the bullish crosses below the zero line right here for this failed recovery after that first initial sell-off. You can see right here by the 4th of February 2025, this was the first initial recovery in the MACD alongside with Ondo's price chart to put in a lower high at about $1.63. Very similar to what we saw happen back here for Ondo to put in a lower high at about $1.1314. It was just a failed recovery. And the MACD clearly showed that was a massive fake out. So we experienced another bearish cross below the zero. The MACD comes all the way down here, finds a bottom, while the price plummets on this massive wick to about 49 cents. That's pretty similar to what we just saw recently. This was a failed breakout attempt in the MACD coming all the way down here with the price crashing down to 73 cents. So in my opinion, where we are on the price chart is somewhere around this phase right here. So either the bottom literally just came in, or we potentially have another low to go for Ondo to sweep out these lows below 80 cents to potentially 50 cents if Bitcoin drops to $70,000. This is very likely. But on the bright side, if we look at the MACD, we are well below the zero line in drastically oversold conditions right here, very similar to where we were back between like the 5th of August and even the 6th of September. So it's possible that the low could be in. And what I would expect to happen for Ondo is for us to range here and potentially see another drop in the price chart to form a second low that could either be a little bit higher than the current low or somewhat equal, similar to what we saw happen back here on the 6th of September. And then what I would want to see on the MACD is a higher low to be getting put in here. And what this is just simply a bullish divergence where the price chart makes a lower low and the key indicator, in this case it'd be the MACD, makes a higher low. For example, we can see right here on Ondo's price chart from like the 5th of August, the price closed at about 64 cents. And then on the 6th of September, the price closed at about, 55, 56 cents. So if we're just looking at the candle body closes, this would be a lower close for a lower low. Whereas if we look at the MACD, we can see that we saw a higher low here. So if we were to just trace the chart up right here to where we're currently at right now, this is what it could potentially look like for Ondo's chart right here. Where if we see a potential lower low in the price chart, but yet a higher low in the MACD for the MACD to recover on out of here from the current levels that we're at right now, then what I would expect to happen is for Ondo to then range sideways, similar to what we saw happen between like the 5th of August until the breakout that happened on the 11th of November. This is how trend reversals tend to play out. For example, we see a downtrend, which is a series of lower highs. It's very clear to see the downtrend right here for Ondo and lower lows. Then once a bottom comes in, the first initial step is to break a descending resistance like we can see right here on the 24th of September. And if we don't clear a previous range high, which was the 11th of August, as you can see, we got rejected from it at about 85, 86 cents. Then the most likely scenario is we come back to back test the descending resistance as support. We attempt another breakout. See, it's another failed recovery rally right here, getting rejected from a previous range high. So we haven't experienced a trend reversal yet. The price comes all the way back down here by the 4th of November for another low to sweep out a lot of leverage long traders and back test the previous range low from the 6th of September. And then we make the recovery on out of here. So these ranges after a downtrend are really choppy, really volatile. That's why you do not want to be leverage trading right now. And again, this is not financial advice, but what I look for on the charts is I look for a break of a previous range high and a back test as support right here to consider entering into any leverage position. So for example, when Ondo broke out on the 11th of November and put in a new high, which is 98 cents, closed above that high and came back down to back test, the 80 cent region as support by the 15th of November, that in my opinion would have been the best possible time to go in with Ondo, because during this range right here, you just don't know. It's too choppy, right? Whereas on the 15th of November, it's very clear that we broke a previous high, we're holding it as support, and we're 165 days in from the previous high. So it's time for a recovery. On top of that, if you stack that for confluence on the price chart, we can see that the MACD had formed a bullish cross right here on the 8th of November and broke the zero line as well too, and was in an uptrend, forming a much higher low than what we saw down here on the 7th of August. So right now for Ondo, because we're all the way down here and we're still in a downtrend, if I were to just connect the dots from these lower highs right here to these lower lows, this is what the chart could potentially look like. So once Ondo finally does break this descending resistance, I would just expect it to come back down, back test it at some point. We don't know when that'll happen. Hey, you know what? It could happen sooner rather than later. We don't know. We just have to watch the charts and see. And after that back test, what we want to see is a break of a previous range high. So currently the previous range high right here is on the 3rd of March at $1.22. That right there is the major resistance to clear. Unless Ondo ranges over the next few weeks and next few months and does something like this, where it just puts in a lower high leading into the end of this month, and if it comes in for a lower low. And simultaneously, we're going to be watching the MACD. So it's still too early right now for me to consider buying more Ondo because this could just be a failed rally. Even though I do think Ondo could recover, back up to $1 in the short term, I'm just going to watch and see how this range plays out. It doesn't mean it'll look exactly like this. I mean, it could be more compressed before the next breakout takes place. And it could happen sooner rather than later. We just need to watch Bitcoin and also look for divergences on the chart, which I'll be bringing up as they arise. All you need to do is subscribe to the channel and like this video. Now, looking at XLM's chart, if we're going to zoom out here and just go on the weekly, we can see on the most recent breakout at the end of November right here for XLM to come back up to basically backtest the previous market cycle high right up here. It was a little bit below it. Look at what happened on the relative strength index. It got all the way up here at 93, even higher than where it was on the 8th of February. So at that exact same time, we can see that the MACD was in an uptrend and we didn't see a bearish cross until the 17th of May of 2021. Once that rally was over and the top had come in, then that's when we saw this A wave come in right here, back down to 18 cents, this B wave up to 45 cents, and then inevitably the C wave to the bottom. So the real question here is not necessarily if XLM is going to bounce to the upside, in my opinion. It's when it's going to bounce, because I do expect a bounce to happen here, because as you guys can see, the RSI has pulled back from 94 all the way to 46. And the MACD as well too did form a bearish cross right here on the weekly. Doesn't necessarily mean that the bull market's over, because if we were to zoom in here and go back to the last cycle, we saw a bearish cross happen right here above the zero line on the 31st of August. And as you can see, that was just basically a short-term temporary pullback before the market continued to the upside to form the high for that bull market rally. And the RSI was above 70. It experienced a pullback to about 46. So the real question is, are we going through a pullback like this, like what we saw here in August of 2020? With this recent bearish cross on the MACD and also this recent pullback in this relative strength index to get to 46? Or are we about to see just a much longer, grueling A wave, lower high for a B wave, and a C wave bear market bottom? So the real question for me is not if this bounce will take place, it's when and how high will it be? Will it be a higher high, or will it be a lower high on the price chart and a lower high on a key indicator like the relative strength index and the MACD? So depending on what happens with Bitcoin at the next bounce, if Bitcoin makes a new all-time high, then I would just expect the bounce to be bigger for something like XLM to the upside to break the previous high of 2021. And then in my opinion, that would lead to a lower high on the relative strength index for a much more macro bearish divergence if we see something like that take place. And then that would be a good time for me personally to de-risk out of the crypto market on that bounce. But to sell out of XLM right now, I just don't think makes sense, even though I think there might be further bleeding to the downside or ranging sideways. I do think a bounce is coming in the midterm. And inevitably that will lead us to the bull market peak, while I would expect there to be some type of bearish divergence on these key indicators right here, signaling that the bullish momentum is slowing down once we get further into this year. And then I would expect there to be the A, B, C corrective wave. So I don't think the bull market cycle top is in right now. Even though we did see the relative strength index get all the way up here, we're going to watch and see how this plays out over the next week or two because of what's currently happening with inflation that is massive right now. US inflation is crashing. So is Trump's master plan working? He is trying to force the Fed to cut rates. Once that happens, could we see stocks, Bitcoin, crypto, and the rest of the altcoin market explode? Well, pretty soon the data is going to come in for February because inflation has been ticking up since October of 2024 to about 3% in January. Whereas right here on truthful data for a transparent economy, we can see that the US inflation index is showing 1.35% below the Fed's target. So February looks like it is about 2%. So this data right here from tradingeconomics.com is lagging because it only has January's data. So if this is accurate, then this could be very, very good news for the crypto market to see a massive bounce and a massive recovery for altcoins. So if you want to capitalize on this right now, we've been helping businesses get money back from major government programs that cost no money to you out of pocket to help you get more money back in your pocket. For example, with this right here, we help businesses that crossed over $386 million get qualified to receive back up to $5.7 million. That is a lot of money for businesses to be able to do whatever they want with. If they want to accumulate more altcoins during this dip, they can do that. Listen to this. April 15th, 2025. This is a huge date because it's the deadline for 2 high-paying tax credits that you probably haven't heard about, but you can still get if you take action right now. We've partnered with the relief consultants who are experts in the tax code who've recovered over $100 million for their clients so far. So if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, listen up so we can get you help and reach our goal of recovering $10 million for the Bull Runners community before the April 15th deadline. So here's how it works. If you're a business owner who had employees in 2021, then you qualify for an average $150,000 check from the Treasury and possibly more with the Employee Retention Credit Program. So if you were told in the past that you don't qualify, get a second opinion now through the link in the description below this video, because there are rules and regulations that have changed just recently. So there's a high likelihood that you do qualify now. And if you sold your business or you shut it down, you still qualify as long as you were active in 2021. So don't miss out. Schedule an appointment with the link below. Just click business owner with employees if it applies to you. There's also a second tax credit that also ends April 15th. So this is for the bull runners who are self-employed in 2021. So if you were a 1099, not W-2, and self-employment was your primary income, the Treasury check for this tax credit can go up to $32,220 with an average of $17,000. So if you were self-employed in 2021 and want to see if you haven't claimed this credit, which nobody has from our community thus far for some strange reason. We've been talking about this in several videos. I don't know, man. Maybe you just want the Treasury to keep your money. But if you want to get money back in your pocket, then schedule a consultation. Don't be lazy. Do this right now before April 15th through the link below. Just click self-employed if you think you qualify for both credits. Let the rep know on the call. And by the way, if you have your tax returns from 2020 and 2021 for this credit, it will be a faster turnaround for you. So have them ready on your call, and they can literally tell you if you qualify on your first call to get you paid. So if you need more money back in your pocket for this bull run, take action right now, click the link, and let's get you paid. So if you guys want to take advantage of that to be able to get more money back in your pocket, then definitely do that, because if we look at the Fed's funds rate right here in purple compared to the Bitcoin price chart, what happened the last time that the Fed went from pausing rates to cutting rates, we saw some initial volatility during the rate cutting cycle right here, followed by COVID, obviously. But then when interest rates dropped and the Fed funds rate dropped all the way down here, like next to nothing, look at what happened to the crypto market. That's when we saw the bull run take place. And so what did we just see happen recently? Well, the Fed started dropping rates by like September, and we're seeing some volatility take place right now. So if Donald Trump's plan works and we see the Fed funds rate come down and the Fed start dropping rates on this purple line that you can see right here, that could potentially be the major catalyst that sends the altcoin market rocketing to the upside. And also, just like I showed you guys with tracing up the 2017 cycle to where we're at right now, we're going through this sell-off virtually at almost the exact same time that we saw the sell-off back in 2017. And so could we be just weeks away from a major recovery in the market? But we have about 7 days until the next FOMC meeting takes place between March 18th to 19th to see what Jerome Powell says in their next announcement about the effective federal funds rate, which is essentially interest rates that shows how expensive it is for banks to take overnight loans and lend money. That affects mortgage rates, what the Fed's doing with their balance sheet, you name it. So if you guys can confirm this or not, if this data is accurate and inflation's at like 1.35%, then I think that's what's going to trigger the next leg up in the market. And to put this in perspective for you guys, listen to what Jeff Bezos said in this interview right here.
Because the stock is not the company, and the company is not the stock. And so as I watched the stock fall from 113 to 6, I was also watching all of our internal business metrics, number of customers, profit per unit, everything you can imagine, defects, etc. Every single thing about the business was getting better and fast. And so as the stock price was going the wrong way, everything inside the company was going the right way. And we didn't need to go back to the capital markets. We didn't need more money. The only reason, a financial bust like the internet bubble bursting is, makes it really hard to raise money. But, we already had the money we needed. So we just needed to continue to progress.
And so if we compare Amazon's stock back here, this was in 1999. Look, it crashed 95%. Compare this to XRP right here from 2017. XRP crashed 95%. And then look at the recovery from there to where we are now, over 73,000%. So sure, this took place over 20 something years, but when you're in doubt, what do you need to do? Zoom out on the macro, because what's happening here, guys, is Ripple as a company keeps making massive partnerships and announcements each and every single day. So as Brad Garlinghouse said here on Twitter, some weeks feel like months in crypto. From the White House Crypto Summit to the CFTC CEO Roundtable, there's been a lot of talk about what this White House has and will prioritize with their crypto agenda. Most importantly, regulatory clarity through congressional action, as well as a Bitcoin reserve and crypto stockpile, support by stablecoin innovation backed by US treasuries like I just showed you with Ondo, Stellar's XLM, Ripple's XRP, and more. So it's easy to get lost in some of the Bitcoin maxi-induced noise, but there's so much more to this industry than the infighting between altcoins and one coin versus another that's a time-wasting rhetoric. And he said, we will, as we've always done, continue to champion the need for a level playing field and for the industry to come together to move much needed legislation forward in the US. So from February 17th to March 25th, there's been 2 Trump executive orders, XRP held in US digital stockpile, RLUSD only, NYDFS stablecoin, US Treasury to Stewart XRP. The Department of Justice declared XRP is officially not a security. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary Rosie Rios on board. U.S. is set to be the crypto capital of the world, the ISO global payment solution, digital dollar, Treasury, RLUSD, XRP. So while the company makes these massive announcements, and yet the price chart shows XRP just consolidating right here in the short term, think of it like a water pump. When you're trying to pump water out of the ground, nothing happens for a while, even though you're building up pressure. And then once the water starts coming out, you can't stop it. That's what's about to happen for XRP. They're building up pressure. For example, Franklin Templeton has filed for an XRP ETF with the SEC. So that's now 17 XRP ETFs waiting for approval at the SEC. We have Bitwise, Grayscale, 21 Shares, Canary Capital, WisdomTree, CoinShares, Invesco, Van Eck, Fidelity, ARK Invest, Galaxy Digital, ProShares, Hashtag, Volatility Shares, and now Franklin Templeton. Let me ask you this. Why would this many companies that have billions of dollars in assets under management file for an XRP ETF if they didn't believe that there was going to be adoption of XRP? It's common sense at this point. It just takes time. So news just hit about the SEC postponing approval processes for Van Eck Spot, Solana ETF, Canary Spot, Litecoin ETF, and also the XRP ETF and Grayscale Spot XRP ETF, along with Dogecoin as well too. But approval decisions will be made on or before April 4th, 2025. And if we go right here to Polymarket, if we look up Ripple ETF approval in 2025, there's a 72% chance. And Polymarket actually lets you like bet an amount. Like if I were to bet $100, $300 it says to win, $390, or $100 is to win $129. So that'd be about 29% gain, because the odds are highly in favor of an ETF getting approved for XRP. Now also Dogecoin ETF, there's about 66% chance. Solana says 85% chance. And if we look right here, Dogecoin ETF by July 31st, 41%. XRP ETF by July 31st, 36% chance. So why is it then XRP ETF in 2025 has higher chance of Dogecoin, but a Dogecoin ETF by July 31st has a higher chance than XRP? It's because of the lawsuits still going on with Ripple versus the SEC. So that is the major catalyst right now. It's the lawsuit that everyone's still waiting on. And so when we just look at the price action on the chart from what happened between May of 2017 until December of 2017, we're about 99 days into this consolidation period from the high of the 2nd of December, and 99 days into the consolidation period by like August of 2017. Look at what happened to XRP. We were selling off from the high of about 40 cents. We found a low by the 16th of July right here around 12 to 13 cents. And once we broke out of this range right here at the end of that 99-day consolidation period, we came back up to back test the previous high from the 20th of June, got rejected from it. So we didn't see a trend reversal until way later. And then just like I showed you guys on Ondo's price chart for how these ranges play out, when we see a descending resistance of lower highs, whether we're seeing lower lows or equal lows, this is just a descending triangle. We watched for a break of a descending resistance. We saw that here at the end of August. And usually what happens is the first breakout is sometimes a rejection of a previous high, like we saw right here on the 23rd of August. We come back down and we back test this descending resistance as support. And then we just put in higher lows here, coiling up between 30 cents and this ascending support right here until we inevitably broke out all the way at the end of the year. So XRP has been selling off from the 16th of January, forming lower highs and simultaneously a flat support around $1.93 to about $2. So what I would want to see happen for XRP, if this support holds, if this support doesn't hold, then this will invalidate this whole entire chart that I'm showing you right here. What I would expect to happen at some point is a break of this descending resistance followed by rejection from $2.97 and a potential backtest of this descending resistance to put in a higher low as we coil up through here before the next major move to the upside. So it's very, very important for this horizontal support to hold. If it doesn't hold, then we could be in for a much more grueling, nasty consolidation period for XRP over the next few months before we see a recovery in the market. So in my opinion, the smartest move here before you just FOMO buy into XRP right now is wait for a trend reversal. And a trend reversal would look like a clearing of like $2.90 to $3 and holding it as support. But the challenge that you face with that is if XRP just explodes and doesn't back test the previous range high as support. For example, you guys can see on the bottom of the screen right here, the previous range high for XRP was roughly at about 30 cents that it got rejected from multiple times in October and also November. Once we broke that, we didn't backtest it as support. We broke all the way upwards of 90 cents and we only came back down to like 60 cents right here. So you would have had to buy a lot higher if you were waiting for a breakout and a confirmed trend reversal, because this right here, clear as day, that's a confirmed trend reversal. And let's say you accumulated 60 cents, you would have caught, another 400% move, which is another 4 to 5x in the market. So even if you're waiting for a trend reversal for XRP for it to clear $3, back test it like this before you enter in up here, you could still catch the next major move in the market cycle rather than catching a falling knife right now, buying XRP at $2.19 if this ends up being a failed rally and we see XRP plummet down to like $1.50 to $1.60. The only time it makes sense to accumulate at these lows right here is if you just have macro patience, because you could be catching a falling knife because we just haven't seen a trend reversal yet. And also we're seeing Ethereum bleed out drastically, but it's looking similar to what happened to Bitcoin, during that COVID dip right here. So risk of recession, trade war, tariffs, all that stuff is what's dampening Ethereum's price action. Where we've seen multiple rejections from this descending resistance. If we were to just look at what Titans of Crypto posted here on Twitter, we saw the same thing happen for Bitcoin. If we draw this descending resistance from the high of 2017 to the DeFi summer rally, it wasn't until the beginning of 2021 once we saw that breakout. So we're just going through a reaccumulation phase right now for Ethereum, similar to what happened during COVID for Bitcoin. So if the bull market is over, it would be the strangest bull market in history. All signs are telling us that this bull run is not over. For example, the alt season oscillator in the Bitcoin meter is showing us right now, when we look at the altcoin oscillator, that we're at levels that we were at in January to February of 2021 before a major breakout happens in the market. Because when this altcoin oscillator went below zero right here, if I mark the first point when it went below zero, that's right when we were breaking out of this previous range high for others, which is everything other than the top 10, right here on the 18th of May. Once we broke this range, we consolidated on top of that while the altcoin oscillator was below zero. Look on the right-hand side of the screen. When the altcoin oscillator went below zero right here, roughly on like the 15th of January, we broke this previous range right here and we're consolidating on top of it right now. Similar to what happened right here in between this gap on the left-hand side of the screen, we're doing that right now. It's just a longer, more drawn out consolidation period, which could be a sign that this bull run cycle is actually much bigger than people think and much longer than people think. And right now, just recently, we just barely breached back above zero for the altcoin oscillator. We're at 0.03. And if we were to look at where we were at the top of that cycle, for others, well, the altcoin oscillator was right here, right around like 25, 26, as I mentioned in my previous video. So we're at 0.03 right now. That's one sign that we're not at the peak yet. Also, look at the Bitcoin meter right here. When we were at light green, that's when the breakout really started. So we're not at light green right now. We're at pink, just getting done with orange. Very similar to where we were right here in like December to January of 2020 during this consolidation phase right here. So we're just going through a consolidation phase right now. And yes, I think this will take some time to play out. As I just showed you guys on Ondo's chart, we want to be looking for a break of the descending resistance, followed by a much more macro trend reversal like we saw happen back here in November 2024, before the next major breakout in the market happens. So that's why it's important to have dry powder on the sidelines, which just basically means money to be able to deploy into the market into your favorite altcoins. So our research team constantly hunts for altcoins that are poised to see the biggest adoption during pullbacks like this. For example, our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University through the link below. And although we make no guarantees because crypto is definitely risky, guys, this is only $97 a month or $970 a year. If you want to save $194, getting 2 months for free and unlock some exclusive bonuses, just go through the link in the description below, get in right now, watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers to help you become the first millionaire in your family tree, if that's a goal of yours. And you can get started through the link in the description below right now, or you can go to bullrunners.com to take advantage of the bonuses we're giving you before they expire. Everyone is loving the community. They're loving the education. They're getting access to real-time altcoin picks first before we ever make videos about them. So click the link in the description below, watch the video, and I'll see you on the inside.